Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Authority Marketing Live. I'm Melanie Hirschhorn, and I am so happy today because I have my dear friend Jen Coken as a guest. She's a published author, and even more importantly, she is going to be telling the story behind one of her books called When I Die, Take My Panties, and which is yeah. And the story, it's about her mom. And as some of you may know, on May 8th, it is World Ovarian Cancer Day. And Jen sadly lost her mom to ovarian cancer. And Sunday is also Mother's Day. So we've got so many things going on. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring Jen on and we are going to talk about all the things. Hi, Jen.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so
Thank
excited
you
to be
so
here.
much. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's talk about the book, okay? Show me when I die, take my panties.
There you go.
Okay,
There it is.
there it is. Now, can you please tell us about the significance of the title?
So my mom told me to take her panties. So about a month, you mentioned Sunday is Mother's Day, World Ovarian Cancer Awareness Day. My mom was misdiagnosed for over a year. And I have always said, if I knew then what I know now about the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer, I firmly believe she would still be living, which is why it's so important to me to write the book. But it's not a sad book. It's a funny book. It will make you shed some tears, but we'll get into that a little later. Mm-hmm. However, about a month before my mom died, I went to visit her. My mom and I, our birthdays were a week. Like mine is in August, I go visit her for a week. And then in December, hers is December 23rd, I go visit her for a week. And we just do things throughout the week. And so I had gone to visit her for my birthday, and she's very matter of fact. She knew, she'd been dealing with the diagnosis for over 5 years. So we knew we had done everything. She was toward the end. It was obvious, and she was very practical. So she was kind of taking me through like a dress that she wanted me to have or some jewelry she wanted me to have. And then she pulls out this drawer. She was like, Jen, these underwear, hanky pankies, are very comfortable. They're very expensive. I've barely worn those. Goodwill won't take them. I don't think you should throw them away. Will you take my panties? Yes, Mom. Like, what are you going to say? No, dying woman's wish. Take my underwear. Yeah, so I did. And I'll tell you, they are the most comfortable thong underwear in the world. That's 11 years ago. So I've switched them out to my own over the years, but that's where it came from. And I'll tell you a funny story about the title, given this is, we're talking about books. So I went to a writer's festival out in Oregon when I was in the midst of writing my book. Part of that festival, one thing that was included was a meeting with a publisher or an editor in a group. And all these other amazing publishers and editors were there, and you could pay to meet with the other ones. But I had this one freebie. And the original title of the book was My Beautiful Life, My Beautiful Death. And when I told the editor that, she looked at me and she went, sweetie, I'm going to do you a favor. Nobody wants to read another misery memoir. So you need to rethink the title. And I was not crushed or crestfallen. I was glad that she was willing to give me that feedback. So, and she wasn't sharp about it or mean about it or anything like that. It just was good feedback. So I went to lunch because I was there with a couple other girlfriends who were writing their books. And I said, so this is what she said. And I sat there with it and I said, guys, I'm going to call it When I Die, Take My Panties. And I went back to her. I found her at the conference and I said, here's what I did. And she looked at me. She goes, nobody's ever taken my coaching that fast. I said, I'm a quick study.
That's right. You are.
And a stand-up comedian. So, it has to go hand in hand.
I love it. Okay. So this story kind of takes us on the journey of you and your mom. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, like I said, none of our family knew anything about ovarian cancer. We didn't know, for example, that women who test positive for the BRCA gene, the breast cancer gene, are 10 to 40 times more likely to be diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And Jews are 10 times more likely than that because in the Ashkenazi Jewish world, we've been marrying each other for centuries. It started with 4 founders. So you've really been mucking with our gene pool. I joke and go, kind of like West Virginia, but that's not very funny to people in West Virginia. So I'm not going to say that, although I just did. Anywho,
But yes, and as an Ashkenazi Jew, sometimes I joke that my husband and I are probably related if we go back far enough, other than being married. However, we look different enough that we don't look like siblings. So at
Right.
least
So you got that going for you.
we do.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when I wrote the book, I was going through my own grieving process. And I remember when I came back from that week with my mom, and she did say to me, I had taken her out to go to lunch with some friends. She couldn't really walk. I had to she used a walker to get to the car. And we had been out with her friends to one of her favorite restaurants. And she, ovarian cancer, unfortunately, when you're pregnant, right, it like all your vital organs get moved out of the way to make way for the baby. Well, think about where the woman's uterus is, and you have ovarian cancer, it's also going to attach itself to your vital organs. And so my mom looked like she was 9 months pregnant, but the tumor had gotten so big. And so she was trying to buckle her seatbelt, getting around this tumor that we called Sam, and buckled herself in. And she kind of sighed and she goes, well, I've had a beautiful life. I hope I have a beautiful death, which is why I thought of that title. But I got home, I was living in Denver at the time. And I went to church Sunday morning because as a Jew, you often go to church. I went to this spiritual, it's like it's called Unity, and I just found a place for myself there where it wasn't about any particular religion. It was about God and faith. And anyway, afterwards, I went to go get a piece of pie and breakfast at the Village Inn. And I'm sitting there and I took out my notebook and the first 3 chapters poured out of me. And it was, because through the years of her being sick as a coach and as a speaker, my life is what I speak about. My life is a demonstration of the coaching I give people. So I am always moving through spaces just like everybody else is. And so I began to share some of what people had said to me, my experiences, but then also reflecting on my upbringing and my political career as a grassroots organizer and how I really felt all those times where my back was against the wall was preparing me or were preparing me for dealing with some of the balls that were being thrown at us from all sides in dealing with my mother's diagnosis. But it's truly a book about my relationship with my mom and our incredible love for one another and what I learned through her diagnosis and her cancer. And ultimately, the lesson I learned is you can't control life, even when you think you can. I think personally, what I realized was how much I had my head in the sand about so many things, because I share about my marriage breaking up during that time and my mom's diagnosis and running and losing my seat when I ran for office, how much I was not only not present, but how much my life was about trying to please other people and trying to make sure everyone around me was happy to my own detriment. And in the end, what I learned was I got to make me happy before I can focus on anybody else.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's sad. It'll laugh. It'll make you cry. It's better than cats.
That I can attest to for sure. And it's also, a great time to be talking about it with Mother's Day just around the corner. And, some people have wonderful relationships with their mom. Some people have lost their mom. Some people don't talk to their mom. And
Yeah.
I feel like your story is a universal story that everybody can relate to. And if you'd like to speak to that.
No. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think, not everybody, and my mom wasn't like this either. My mom wasn't the send you a care package kind of mom. She was the mom and she never even had the sex talk with me. She left out the joy of sex, hoping I'd read it because she was too embarrassed. You know what I mean? So you have
Well,
this
it's better than
moms.
what I got. So, I mean, I got a talk that I'm still, however many decades
You
later.
still have PTSD from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I didn't get the talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like I said in the beginning, I feel like if I knew then what I know now, my mom would still be alive. So it impacts moms, it impacts daughters, it impacts every woman. And I just don't want another family to go through what we went through of being misdiagnosed. So Sunday's World Ovarian Cancer Awareness Day, and it's Mother's Day. And it just is the time of the year when, and I feel bad for people that don't, their mom they've lost their mom like I have. I think it's the crappiest sisterhood or brotherhood to be in. Those people that don't get along with their mom, I can't really speak to that piece of it, but I think it's important because it examines who we are in relationship to one of the most important people in our lives.
Person who we can credit for
Birthed
bringing
us.
us. Yeah, bringing us onto the planet. So what are some of, you briefly touched on this, but what are some of the signs that we don't know about of ovarian cancer?
Yeah. So you want to remember the acronym BEAT, like you beat a drum. So, and I'll go through what each letter stands for, and then I'll go back and explain it. Bloating, eating, abdominal pain, and trouble. So bloating, you feel bloat. And the key is, as I'm going through these symptoms, if you have all four for 2 weeks and no change in diet or exercise, alleviates the symptoms, go to your gynecologist, not your PCP. Go to your gynecologist and say, prove to me I don't have ovarian cancer. The only way they can do that is to biopsy tissue. There's no test. Your pap smear is for cervical cancer, not ovarian cancer. There's no way to test it. Why? There's 23 types. There are babies that are born with it, have been born with it. There are young women who have been diagnosed with it 19, 20 years old, and they do what's called a debulking surgery, which is basically remove every piece of every vital organ they can that has the cancer in it. So people think it's something that older women get, not always, because there's so many different types. So back to the symptoms, you feel bloated, you have problems like you feel full really quickly, or you're constantly hungry, or you're not hungry at all. But if you're constantly hungry, the minute you eat, you kind of feel sick, because again, think of where the uterus is and where it sits and the other vital organs it presses against. Abdominal pain. Sometimes it's lower back pain, but abdominal pain. And T, trouble urinating. You can't empty your bladder feels full. So bloating, eating, abdominal pain, and trouble urinating. Again, if you have the constellation of those 4 symptoms, all 4 at once, get to your gynecologist and say, for 2 weeks, and no change in diet or exercise alleviates them. Go to your gynecologist and say, prove to me I don't have it. And I will say, after me, because I wrote the book to have a platform to speak about it, I know of 3 women that heard me talk that were diagnosed stage 1, which is really unheard of, because think about it. Our monthly cycle, who isn't bloated?
Eating, abdominal pain.
Abdominal pain,
last
and
one,
trouble going to the bathroom. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is why it gets misdiagnosed, bowel syndrome, all these things.
But
And
those aren't
finally,
even things. Those are like a catch-all.
right. Exactly. And in the end, her gynecologist was like, well, you're past, she was 66 at the time. She said, why don't we do a hysterectomy? Because you've had fibroids, maybe that'll make a difference. And so when they went in, they found the cancer all inside the peritoneal sac.
Oh.
And that's how we found out she had cancer.
Oh. Yeah. But then you had these amazing memories, and you not only wrote a book about it, but something even more exciting is on the horizon.
It's in the works. Yeah.
Let's talk about that, please.
Really incredible. I have a practice in the mornings to write down 10 dreams as if they've already happened. And I visualize myself, fulfilling those dreams. And forever, I've envisioned myself accepting an Academy Award for the movie, whether it was, whatever it was for, and kissing it to heaven and saying, okay, Mom, we got this. Because I felt like a movie would give me such a bigger platform to get to more women, to educate more people, because it's, we want to also educate the men who empower the women, right? We want to educate everybody so they can let their partners know, women empowering women, all that kind of stuff.
And everybody has a mom, just like we talked about.
Everybody has a mom. Yes. So I was on a podcast with this amazing woman, and I happened to speak about that. And we got off the podcast, and she used to be an actor in LA. And she said, do you want me to introduce you to a screenwriter? And I said, yeah, because I don't know anything. I wrote a book. I don't know anything about writing screenplays, and it's a vastly different universe.
Right.
And when I asked a friend who was a screenwriter in Hollywood, he goes, yeah, just go buy this book, read it, do what it says. Anywho, so I reached out to this woman, Jessa Zarubica, and we just hit it off. on the phone. And then she brought in her writing partner, and they came back to me and they agreed to write the script. And so right now we're in the middle of writing the script. We've had a couple of conversations about it. We should be to the point we're at a table read in LA by the end of June. They're kind of in hibernation now, putting the treatment together. I looked at it last Friday, and it's not going to be true to the book. We're pulling out the piece about the mother-daughter relationship, and it's going to be an adventure comedy because, it's really not funny, but it's because tragedy is not really funny, but it's too tragic not to be funny.
Right.
And so we have a great vision for where it's heading. Really, really excited. And when we sell the script and all goes according to divine guidance and our plan, then we should be filming in Q3 of 2023.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about this GoFundMe.
Thank you for putting that up there. Yeah. So, Jess and Kat are amazing, and they are charging me a fifth of what they would normally charge for writing a screenplay, because they fell in love with the book. They fell in love with the idea. They both, Jess has sold 15 scripts. They're both working on big Hollywood productions, and they really, Jess's production company is called Something Extra, because everything she does is with a woman and her story, because she's got a little something extra. And who among us has not been told we're a little extra? And so I'm raising funds to take, exactly. I'm raising funds to take it from book to script to be able to sell it. So it's to write the script and put together the sales and marketing package that we need. And we have a GoFundMe campaign, and I started putting it out there 2 days ago. We're now, I think, over $6,000 on GoFundMe. I also had somebody contact me who wants to be a private investor and wants to invest $5,000. So we are well on our way. We're a little over 30,000 on a goal of 40,000 at this point. And my goal is to raise the rest of it by Sunday.
Okay, you guys, go there, please. Every little bit helps.
Every little bit.
And think about the bigger mission of what you are going to enable, because you are going to help the world over understand the dangers that we don't understand. That if Jen's mom hadn't unfortunately gotten sick, you wouldn't have this platform. You wouldn't be talking about this.
Exactly.
You wouldn't be educating people about it.
Right. And I have a vision of being able to, show this film as a fundraiser for women's organizations, for Jewish organizations. I'm interested in getting sponsors for it so that I don't have to charge them, and they can then raise money for their own group by showcasing the film and having a talk back at the end of it about ovarian cancer. Because again, we probably won't even show my mom dying. It's going to be that kind of film where it's fun, it's lighthearted, these things are happening. And at the end, if you want more resources, here's where to go.
Right.
Yeah. So every little bit helps. I said to people, I think it was on Thursday, if we had 600 people give $30 a piece, we'd meet our goal. So now we're at, what's 10,000 divided by 30, whatever that is. 300 people give $30 a piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
33.33333.
Yeah. You can give more than that, but
Yes, you can. And there is where to go. So I want to briefly touch on marketing the book, because I know that that face says it all. Okay. Talk to me. What happened? How did the book marketing go?
Okay. So when I was writing the book, it was 7 rewrites over 4 years. So just for those of you that are in the midst of writing a book, that happens. It happens. And at the time I was working full time and I was making good salary. So I hired a publicist. Mm-hmm. And her job was going to be, she wrote the press release and she was going to help me get it out there. Mm-hmm. Well, as it turned out, the day before the book came out, I didn't know this at the time, I was laid off of my job because they were restructuring and doing away with my entire team that I had built. So now I didn't have money to pay a publicist. And then the next day the book came out and I was like, I don't know a thing about marketing the book. I mean, the woman that I had worked with and the publishing house that I went through gave me a 25-page document, but it's like, where do I even start? Oh, you could do all these things. Here's all the things. Here's the smorgasbord. And it was so overwhelming.
Now leave the nest. Bye.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I love what you do, Melanie, because I think most people don't realize writing the book is the easy part. Marketing it. Did I say that right?
Start
And
again. Writing the book is
right, is the easy part. Marketing it, getting people to buy it is the tough part, because you got to break through noise, and people don't, there very few people become New York Times bestsellers or anything like that. So then there's the whole piece of like, where do you put it in Kindle, and making sure, or not in Kindle, and Amazon, and making sure it's in the right category. And I mean, mine did become a #1 bestseller. We were very strategic about where we put it. But I would have loved to have had you holding my hand and go, okay, here's your marketing plan. Here's what you're going to do step by step. Here's piece, rather than, I don't do well with a lot of information at once. It was sort of like, as it happened, back then, and it's not around anymore, but there used to be, I think was it called TweetDeck? There used to be an app where you could have people sign up and post something that you've already written at the same time that you did. Like, let's say everyone's going to post it to Twitter or Facebook on Thursday at 5 p.m. They sign up beforehand. This thing has gone away.
Yeah.
But I actually used that platform. And then, much longer story, Jack Canfield tweeted about my book.
Wow.
And the combination of the two, we reached about 847,000 people.
And did that up your book sales?
Definitely upped my book sales, but I still had to keep pounding the pavement, and I still was doing radio, TV, speaking engagements, did a virtual book tour, did a real book tour, called bookstores, talked to libraries about having my book in the library. And it wasn't just me, it was other people who were on my team, because you really do need a team of people around you to help you. You can't do all of this yourself. And my book was hybrid published. So it was self-published, but the company designed the cover. They did all the layout. They uploaded it. I did so well on sales that they then took me on as one of their regular brick and mortar clients.
Wow.
And went out to sell. However, at the time, they couldn't quite figure out what the niche was, because it really isn't grief and loss. It really is. It should be in the inspiration aisle at the bookstore, not grief and loss. So
that's beautiful. All right.
Would have needed your help. So work with Melanie. Don't get caught off guard. Don't get caught with your panties down.
And that is how we will wrap this up.
In a neat scene.
End scene in a neat little bow. So the book, the movie, When I Die, Take My Panties. If you want to grab a copy of the book, it's available everywhere, Amazon and all the places. If you would like to support Jen on her mission to eradicate ovarian cancer and to show the strength that women have supporting women and men have supporting women, then you can go to that link. It's gofundme.com/F/ When I Die, Take My Panties, the movie, and there's some dashes in there. But if you put it in the GoFundMe, you could just do a search.
Yeah, if you just put in When I Die, Take My Panties, when you go to GoFundMe, you'll find it for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And remember to hug your mom and hold her memories very tight.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.